Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
الله أكبر الله أكبر.
Welcome to Consider Islam. Live with Kenny Bomer, an affiliate and founder of the Consider This TV network. Any views, actions, or comments made by panelists during this broadcast do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of CTTV network hosts or affiliates. This channel and its affiliates do not claim any right over any of the graphics, images, or songs used in this video that are protected under copyright by other individuals or organizations. All rights are reserved to the respective copyright owners. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. The works on this channel are protected under the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, DMCA, of 1998, which amended the existing U.S. copyright law to address important parts of the relationship between copyright and the Internet. Now here is your host, Kenny Bomer.
Assalamu alaikum, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon everyone who's watching, or may watch in the future. My name is Kenny Bomer. This is Consider Islam, and I do bear witness there's no God other than Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his final servant, the seal of all prophets. So before we get started, I want to make sure that my connection is okay. I'm actually at a hotel, and I'm kind of at the back of the hotel, so it's raining also today, and so my signal is a little bit weak today. So if you can hear me in the chat, first let me say assalamu alaikum to everyone in the chat, and if you can hear me, please let me know before I proceed, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum once again to everyone, and thank you for being here, African Sister and Stuart and Brother Muhammad with Coventry Faith Foundation. If you can hear me clearly, please let me know. Okay, it's clear. Okay, great. It's lagging on my side. I don't know why, but okay. So we have a dilemma. We have a dilemma here. Look at this. Look at this character here. And of course, this is not new information, but there's an article that I want to go through here in a moment. But the headline for the article, there's a couple of articles, but one in particular says, "Man." Actually, it does. I added the man part. So this title for today's show, I added "Man nominated as NCAA Woman of the Year." The headline just simply says NCAA Woman of the Year. And lo and behold, who does it have there? It has William Thomas, a.k.a. Leah Thomas, nominated as the NCAA Woman of the Year. So it's interesting that men can be Men of the Year and they can be Women of the Year. It's crazy. So we're going to read through this article, maybe both of them, but they're not very long. They're just short articles, but it's just complete insanity. How can this guy with the Adam's apple and male anatomy be nominated as the Woman of the Year? If someone would have told me, years ago, not that many years ago, as a matter of fact, that we would be living in this day and time, and that we would be discussing subjects like this, and that I would have written a book about the topic and so forth, about, the idea that someone can choose to change their gender just based on their feelings and their desires, and and so forth, and how they think, I would have never believed it. It'd be like something that you see in a movie or something. It's in the Twilight Zone. But we're living in the Twilight Zone apparently, because this is real, and it's just it's just uh, growing and growing. This whole ideology, this transgender ideology, is just growing immensely, and it's just crazy. I mean, we're really talking about a 6'4" or whatever, however tall this guy is, uh, big guy. Now a female, quote unquote, female NCAA champion in the sport of swimming, and also nominated by the NCAA, this big organization, the NCAA, nominates this same character as Woman of the Year. I mean, my goodness, it's like the Twilight Zone, literally. So let's read this article here. I'm going to read this article, um, and it's an article you can find on thehill.com, and it's under the subtitle, the title, "Changing America." You got that right. And so I'm just going to read through it real quick. It's not very long. It says Leah Thomas nominated for NCAA Woman of the Year award. The swimmer has been cast in the national spotlight this year as excuse me. The swimmer has been cast in the national spotlight this year as the nation debates whether transgender athletes should be allowed to compete against cisgender athletes. This whole cisgender nonsense, they're referring to people who don't identify as transgender as being cisgender. So we have this to compete with and deal with. Okay, so it says story at a glance. It says Leah Thomas, the former University of Pennsylvania swimmer at the center of a national debate over whether transgender athletes should be able to compete on sports teams consistent with their gender identity, has been nominated for the NCAA Woman of the Year award. Now, it's not new information that I'm bringing here, but this quote unquote Leah Thomas is actually William Thomas, and he used to swim for the University of Pennsylvania male swim team, and he was very mediocre. He was ranked 452 at best. I think that's the position I mentioned in the book. Other rankings have him in the 500s, but nevertheless, I gave him the benefit of the doubt at 452 or 456 or whatever it is. I can't remember right now. But as a male swimmer, he was nowhere close to being at the top. But he goes over with his big Adam's apple and his big feet and his long arms and so forth. I'm not making fun of anyone. I'd like to be as tall as he is. That'd be great. But alhamdulillah, that's not what Allah had written for me. So that's fine. Praise be to Allah. I'm satisfied with that. The point being is that this man, very large man, as a matter of fact, could not compete with other males and other men. So he decides, based on how he feels and how he thinks and whatever, and his probably has something a lot to do with his sexual desires, and probably has something to do with his lack in the belief of a creator. And if you do believe in a God, in a creator, you have a God conscience. How in the world can you proclaim yourself to be something other than what the creator created you to be? Nevertheless, this very mediocre swimmer as a man, I mean, he's better than most average people as far as, he was swimming on the college swim team for the university. But nevertheless, he was ranked 452, 456, whatever at best. But he goes to the women's, self-identifies as a woman that he's not. And he's ranked number one, becomes a champion in the 200 something freestyle. I don't know what it was. But he was the champ. And now, on top of that, he's nominated as NCAA Woman of the Year for the NCAA Woman of the Year award. This article goes on to say Thomas in March became the first transgender woman to win a national title in Division I athletics. Again, he couldn't do it on the men's side, competing against biological males, competing against people that are his peers, that should be, are his peers. He could not compete against them, against the men. So he's got to go over there and take the titles away from the women. I mean, come on. And no, so these riders, I mentioned this in another article that I discussed a few days ago about these riders using terminologies that would appease the sensibilities of quote unquote transgender people. There's no such thing as transgender people. There's people who call themselves transgender, but they're not. There's no such thing as transgender people. There's just people, males and females. Right? Although this transgender ideology kind of functions as a religion in a sense, kind of like a cult. But nevertheless, when we're talking about human beings at their core, there's no such thing as a transgender woman. There are men who claim that they're women, but there's no such thing as a transgender person. Nevertheless, it says Thomas in March became the first transgender woman to win a national title in Division I athletics. It goes on to say Thomas joins hundreds of other female athletes. Now the rider here, which is a woman, let me get her name real quick. The writer of this article, her name is Brooke Migdon. Brooke Migdon. Now, she is a woman, a female, and she's writing this article. I'm sure trying to be quote unquote politically correct, even though defying the actual truth, while defying the actual truth, trying to be politically correct by referring to William Thomas as first a transgender woman, and then says that Thomas joins hundreds of other female athletes. Well, Thomas did join female athletes, but to use this word other female athletes is to imply that William Thomas is a female. But no, William Thomas is not a female. William Thomas is a man who desires to be a female or proclaims himself to be a female or thinks or feels that he's a female, but he's not a female. So he didn't join other females. He simply joined females. It says Thomas joins hundreds of other female athletes from member schools across the country, representing 23 sports in all 3 NCAA divisions and being nominated for the award of Woman of the Year. Goes on again, using the name Leah Thomas. The writer uses the name Leah Thomas instead of calling him William. It says, Leah Thomas, the former University of Pennsylvania swimmer who in March became the first transgender woman to secure a national title in Division I athletics, has been nominated for the NCAA's Woman of the Year award by her university, the athletic conference announced on Friday. So the University of Pennsylvania has decided that to bypass all the other females that were there, all the other female, I just said it, all the true females. See, I just got caught up into it. Okay, so the University of Pennsylvania pushed all the women to the side and goes over here and nominates this 6'4", however tall he is, man with big feet and Adam's apple, twice as big as the actual women on the swim team, and nominates him instead of picking one of these women that they could have chosen from. Now, if I was a woman, I would be very, very upset. Matter of fact, one of his teammates is upset. Her last name is Gaines or something like that. I can't remember right now, but she's extremely upset. She's been speaking out against it, and I'm sure they'll be targeting her. They probably have already been harassing her and calling her a transphobe and all those things. There's no doubt about that. But she has every right to be highly offended at the idea that this man would be nominated by her university, who she's supposed to, be proud of or whatever. But the university has nominated this man as Woman of the Year. Forget all the women, all the females, the ones who go through menstrual cycles, the ones who are going to wind up, giving birth if they haven't already, the ones who are biologically female at the core, who are actually women who have ovaries and so forth. Forget them; they don't matter. Let's let the men come and just take over the women, and now men can be men and women. Men can be men of the year and women of the year. Like it's no big deal. If that's not Twilight Zone nonsense, I don't know what it is. What is? Are we all living the same nightmare right now? Are we all trapped in the Twilight Zone? Or has Iblis, the devil, come and led people astray like never before in the history of mankind? Getting some people to think that it's their right to choose to be something other than they were created to be. And then others get behind them and back that idea and support them. And if you speak out against it, you're the bad guy, because they're supporting the idea and praising the people who are coming out as trans as though they've done something courageous. How courageous are you? How brave you are. You're so brave for coming out as trans. We're so proud of you for coming out as trans. Now you can be your true self. Oh, wait a minute. Let's say, one of my teammates, I'll just pick a random teammate that I used to play football with, Montre. Montre was a pretty good tailback. He played running back. I played fullback. And if Montre came along and he said, he used to call me Boomer, right? Boomer, I'm actually a female. I'd be like, I'm coming out as trans and I'm a female. I'd have to say, Montre, I played football with you. I've been in the same shower room as you have, the locker rooms and so forth, have taken showers at the same time that you have. No, you're not a female. You're a male. Right? And someone out there is going through that. I personally, at this point, although I'm sure it's coming soon, the way things are going, I don't know anyone personally that's, like a friend of mine or family member and so forth, that has come out as trans, right? But if they do, I'm just going to be real with them. I'm not going to give in. I'm going to just be honest with them and speak the truth in the face of falsehood, in the face of their delusion. And what else can we do? Do we have a right to do that? That's what I wrote my book about. Sure, you have every right to call yourself whatever you want to. Go right ahead. But don't I have a right to disagree with that? Do I have to live under the same delusions that you do? Do I have to say the same words that you say? And do I have to say words that you want me to say? Or can I use my own mind, my own intellect, and base my opinion on my religious belief and science and all those things in regards to who these people actually are? Do I have to call William Thomas she and her and so forth, and call him Leah just because society demands it? Well, wait a minute. If that's the case, wouldn't I be giving in to men and women and creation instead of fighting for the truth of the Creator? The Creator does not make mistakes. He doesn't trap little girls into male bodies, and he doesn't trap little boys into female bodies, and vice versa, and so forth. He doesn't do that. The Quran and the Bible, as a matter of fact, make it clear that our God, our Creator, only created men and women, males and females. That doesn't mean not children and so forth, but males and females. There's no in between. There's no combination of the two. Yes, deformities happen and so forth, internally and externally, but the chromosomes themselves, the gametes that make up the chromosomes, are clearly defined as male or female. But we're either living in the twilight zone or in a nightmare, or we're living in the most evil period in the history of the world, and that's what I believe is the case. It's surely got to be one of the the signs of the day of judgment coming. And I'm not saying it's going to happen in our lifetime, but I'm saying humanity is certainly moving towards that period. And we know with the coming of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and things that have been prophesied about what would happen before the day of judgment, and things that Allah has revealed in the Quran and so forth. We're certainly in amongst the people who are closest to that period of time. Now, that doesn't mean in our generation and so forth, but we're closer than ever before. That's clear that the day of judgment is coming, and when we have this type of debauchery, we have this type of evil, when we have these types of lies being propagated by the president on down, it's ugly. It is ugly. Back to this article. It says Thomas this year rose to national prominence, drawing both passionate support and forceful criticism as her swimming success became a real-life proxy for the debate over whether transgender female athletes should be permitted to compete against cisgender ones. Now, think about this one little paragraph or couple of sentences alone. Look at the tomfoolery embedded into these words. Thomas this year rose to national prominence, drawing both passionate support, well, we've seen that clearly, and forceful criticism. Actually, I don't know if we've seen any quote unquote. Now, think about this. Now look here. They have received passionate. look at how they make what's good evil and what's evil good. Watch this. It says Thomas this year rose to national prominence, drawing both passionate support. Oh, sounds so loving and so endearing. Let's back this man who pretends to be a woman and, takes these titles from these women who he has far more physical ability than they do. He has his body's much stronger than theirs is. Our God, our Creator, has equipped man to be stronger, naturally stronger than women physically, right? But these people have given him passionate support It's so loving, endearing, right? But on the other side, what does she say on the other side? And forceful criticism. So the people adopting the lie, supporting the lie, are giving passionate support, loving support. It's all inclusive. Let's all support and make this man a hero and make him the woman that he'll never be. Matter of fact, not only he's the woman of the year, he's the greatest of all women for this period of time. Let's make him that. So that's that group doing this. And if you speak out and say, wait a minute, he's got an Adam's apple right there. I can see it. It's right there. I see it. I can see it clearly. Look how big his feet are. He's got to wear size 16 shoes. Look how long his arms are. Look how much he's standing like 3 foot taller than the second place finisher in the race and the third place finisher. He's a man. That's a man right there. And if you say that, you can say it so politely. Hey, wait a minute. He's a man. Biology says he's a. However you say it, you're saying it forcefully. You're not saying it passionately. You're not saying it passionately in defense of truth and based on your religious convictions and the belief of a God, a creator who creates males and females and not in between, and doesn't allow human creation to be able to decide it's something like Transformers, Autobots and Decepticons that can transform and change themselves from a robot into a dump truck or whatever. I mean, come on. No, our God, our creator, didn't create us that way. He didn't create any of his creation that way. They can just change into something else. He just didn't. If he wanted to, he could have, but he didn't do that. But man has made themselves their own gods. Each individual is making themselves a god. And if anyone supports that individual, if you're a supporter of a person like William Thomas, then inevitably are you not worshiping this man who's made a god out of himself? Because you're supporting him. You're giving him your passion. You're giving him your attention. You're giving him your support, your focus, and so forth. You're worshiping him. You're worshiping him by making him woman of the year, that he can't be a woman. But you're proclaiming him to be that. And therefore his declaration, his word, his speech, his logos, using the Greek, terminology that we find in the Bible, his utterances are doctrine at this point, because he's created his own world where he can decide on any whim, in any spur of the moment, that he's something, he's this or he's that. I mean, a lot of these people go and they call themselves female for a while, and sometimes they go back and they call them, they be transition or whatever. Sometimes they do it within days. Sometimes there's some of these gender terms that I mentioned in the book. Some of these people literally believe that they are both male and female at the same time. Some of them believe that they're neither male nor female. Some believe that they could be male today, male this hour, female, basically just changing as time goes, as they see fit, hour per hour. They can just change based on how they feel or how they think. If they think it, they feel it, they are it. And if you support that person trying to make a god out of themselves, are you not worshiping that idea? Making this guy, this man, woman of the year, proclaiming him, worshiping him, encouraging him, all these things. I mean, come on. Is that not like a religion? Is that not like making that individual who's proclaimed himself to be his own God inevitably, and you're supporting that idea? Now we have multiple gods, if that's the case. Now everyone is their own God, and everyone can just do anything they want to do anytime they want, and everything goes. There's no limits to what the human being can do. Well, that kind of goes contrary to our creation itself. That's why Allah reminds humanity time and time again in multiple verses of the Quran, does mankind not consider of what they came from? Just a single drop of sperm? But you're declaring yourself, you're making yourself greater than what you actually are. Don't you realize that you're going to die and you're going to turn to nothing? You came from nothing, but except from by the word of Allah, you came into existence through a drop of sperm. But you're somehow proclaiming yourself to be something that you can't be. And others get behind that idea and support that idea. Now we have this mass movement. We have a social contagion that is just, it's like it's crazy. Is it real, or am I in the bad dream myself? Is this really happening? I think it is. Back to this couple of sentences. So note, again, she says that William Thomas, nominated Woman of the Year, is drawing both passionate support. Oh, that sounds great. That's wonderful. And forceful criticism. Well, no one's using force against anyone. No, I haven't heard of anyone, going out and saying, let's go and attack these transgender people. Let's oppress them. Let's take their rights away. No, listen, you can go use the restroom. Just go to the restroom that matches your anatomy. How about that? Is that okay? No, you don't want to do that? No, listen, no one's trying to stop you from going to the restroom, but can't you just at least, if you want to wear a dress in there, go ahead and wear a dress in there. But at least go into the restroom that matches your anatomy, your physical body. And no, I'm not talking about if you got something hacked off and all that. No, that doesn't count. If you were born with, male anatomy, then by golly, don't you think that, it's not too much to ask that you go into the restroom that matches your physical design? We'll meet you halfway. You can use the restroom. No one's trying to oppress you and stop you from using the restroom, but can't you use that one instead of that one over there? Where there's been instances where people are exposing themselves to little girls and women that don't want to see their anatomy. Yes, that's happening. That does happen. And what they do is they keep that on the hush. They don't want to talk about that because they're too busy being passionate. But if someone says, hey, I don't like talk about this particular incident in the book. I go into detail about this man who went into this women's spa, and he was actually exposing himself to little girls that were there with their mothers. It was a women's only place, but this quote unquote transgender woman that's a male with an Adam's apple and so forth, and testicles and a penis, goes into the women's only facility and is in the back exposing himself and actually getting erect and in front of these little girls and women. And when the women actually went up to the front and said, hey, there's a guy back here who's walking around, he's aroused back there and he's back. You know what they did? They started making those women who were complaining, making them out to be the bad people. Yeah. Let that man go in there who calls himself a woman, let him just go in there and just walk around butt naked, nude in front of these little 10, 11-year-old girls and the mamas. How dare you speak out against it? We're passionately behind this man, giving him his right to go in there and do that. Oh, my goodness, man. And if you speak out against it, you're being forceful. Well, guess what? None of the women in that story, in that incident, who were speaking out against it, not one of them said, let's go and harm this guy. Let's do something atrocious, or let's physically, just manhandle him ourselves and get him out of there. Manhandle. So, no, that's not happening. If you just simply speak out against it, you're doing something wrong. You're a hate monger. It's hate speech and so forth. So that's what they're doing in this article. In this very article, we're seeing evidence of what they have done, drawing both passionate support and forceful criticism for her, quote unquote, her swimming success, as her swimming success became a real life proxy for the debate over whether transgender female athletes should be permitted to compete against cisgender ones. Well, no, they shouldn't, because they have more physical ability than the women do. That doesn't mean women makes women any less, but even in the Quran, Allah makes it clear that He's given one degree over the other, and it's literally referring to physical attributes, making the man physically superior to the woman in the sense that the man is stronger, the man does more laborious type work. It's the man's responsibility to care for the woman. That doesn't take away anything from the woman, because she endures her own physical issues in regards to the monthly cycle and giving birth, things that a man cannot do. She's more emotional. She's a better caregiver. There's qualities that the women have that are better than the man, and there's qualities that the man have that are better than women, but they come together and they are a garment of protection for one another. They work together as a team. They fit together like a team. It's not this, right? And I don't mean to be graphic, right? But they fit together like a glove. That is, what do you put a glove on in baseball? You put on a glove to protect your hand, right? Well, that's the relationship between man and woman that's been designed by our Creator. Allah says clearly that the man and the woman are a protection from one another, for one another. They are a hijab for one another. They are protecting garments for one another. But boy, you better not speak out against a man walking into a woman's only facility and walking around naked and getting aroused. Don't speak out against that, because you will be the bad guy if you do. It goes on to say, conservative lawmakers across the country have said, quote unquote, her victories in the pool warrant greater regulation in women's and girls' sports to preserve their integrity and maintain fairness for all. Okay, great. Conservative lawmakers say that across the country have said her victories, his victories. Even this sentence is ridiculous, because if William Thomas was really a woman, there'd be no reason for these lawmakers, these conservative lawmakers, any other lawmakers, to address this point, right? But the fact that he's a male, that's why they're addressing it. So conservative lawmakers across the country, it should say, have said his victories in the pool warrant greater regulation in women's and girls' sports to preserve their integrity and maintain fairness for all. That's what it should say, but instead they've got the word her in there. Why do they have the word her in there? To appease the sensibilities of these transformers. I mean, just call them transformers. You've transformed into something that you are not, so you think, you're a transformer. Okay? You think it's rude? I don't really care, because I think it's rude that this male jumps into the pool in a championship competition, or any other competition for that matter, and beats the women, and then gets the award of being, he's the champion in women's sports, and then he, on top of that, becomes Woman of the Year for cheating, basically, for lying, for being delusional, for having internal conflict within himself. He's not happy within himself. Why is he not happy with himself? Because he could not achieve those things jumping into the pool with another man or any other men. He couldn't do it. He would never be champion, because he's not good enough. That doesn't mean that it makes a man a less of a man because you can't dunk the ball like Michael Jordan or whatever. There's other things in the world that make you a man. But in this situation, William Thomas, his only opportunity to become number one was to go and compete against 115, 110-pound women. Well, I've got to, should we not be disturbed by that? Oh, wait a minute. We better not say that. We better not say anything against it. Because then you're a hate monger. You're promoting hate. No, I don't hate the individual. I hate the lies being propagated. As a God-fearing person who believes that the creation of our God, our Creator, is perfect in all instances, even if a person is born deformed, our God, our Creator, in His wisdom has a reason for that. I totally believe that. And do I have a right to believe that? Do I have to ask for permission to believe and think and say the words that I feel led to say? Do I have a right to say these things? Or does the rights of a person like William Thomas or Bruce Jenner or whoever else, Buck Angel, do their rights take precedence over the rights of others? It seems that they do, because if you speak out against it, you're the bad guy. If you speak in support of their claims, oh, you're a member of the team. You're one of the good ones. This article goes on to say, since 2021, 18 states have enacted legislation barring transgender student athletes from competing on sports teams consistent with their gender identity, 10 of which were passed this year. Alhamdulillah, great. That's how it should be. Barring transgender student athletes from competing on sports teams consistent with their gender identity. Okay. All right. So a person's gender identity in the minds of these activists and these influencers and this gender ideology nonsense. These people with their gender identity, their gender identity is more important than their gender reality or their biological reality. That's what they're making it out to be. Now, of course, there is some kickback against it, but overall, it's growing and it's intensifying. And laws are being made to put these things in place. Gender affirming care put it in place, and if you speak out against it, it's called conversion therapy, and that's wrong. You can be charged, you can be fined, you can be fired, you can be sued for speaking out and saying, wait a minute, these men aren't actually females, nor are those females actually males. It's not just not real. That's a delusion. But if you say that, they call it engaging in conversion therapy. So if you're a therapist or a doctor or someone who is in a particular field that is trying to tell these people, hey, wait a minute, your biology says that you're a male, so maybe you need to get counseling or whatever and deal with your mental health issues and so forth, or crisis that you've gone through in your life. If you do that, you're engaging in conversion therapy. How dare you try to convert these people from being what they can never be? right? It'd be like me saying, I self-identify as a 12-year-old boy, and I want people to treat me like a 12-year-old boy. I want to be able to get in, pay minor prices for to get in the movies or to eat food or whatever, and I expect everyone to treat me as though I'm a 12-year-old boy. And if someone comes along and they say, hey, Kenny, man, you've got a full beard here. Usually most 12-year-olds don't have a full beard, and you look like you've been around for a little while. It's hard to believe that you've only been on the planet for a decade and 2 years. Maybe you need to get some see a therapist and so forth and talk about these things, and let's talk about it. Well, that person would be accused of engaging in conversion therapy for trying to convince me that I'm not the little 12-year-old boy that I'm claiming that I am. But isn't that what that person should be doing? If I come along and I insist that I'm a 12-year-old boy that I'm clearly not, isn't the right thing to do to say, look, man, let's be realistic. Let's look at the date that you were born and the date it is now. You're not 12 years old. Oh, yes, I am. That's the way I feel. I feel young at heart, and I'm 12 years old. That's what I want to be, and that's what I am. Well, that's foolish, right? It's even the thing is, what's more foolish? Me claiming that I'm a 12-year-old boy, it's still a male, or me claiming that I'm a woman of the same age? Well, at least my biology would still be consistent if I was claiming to be a 12-year-old boy. That makes more sense than me claiming to be a woman. But if someone tells me, look, Kenny, let's talk, let's sit down and talk, maybe we need to set up some counseling sessions and so forth. They're denying me my rights to self-proclaim and self-identify. They're engaging in conversion therapy. I want to sue that therapist or that doctor. I want to defriend or get rid of this family member or this person, whoever this is, who's trying to speak out against my sensibilities and my being a 12-year-old boy. That's basically what they're doing. It goes on to say Thomas has also been targeted by conservative groups, including Concerned Women for America, which filed civil rights complaints against the swimmers' school in March, arguing that cisgender female athletes have lost opportunities afforded to them by law because of Thomas. Yes, they have. Yes, they most certainly have. It's not right. It's not fair. So everyone, if any God-conscious person should be speaking out in defense of actual women. If you're not speaking out in defense of actual women and you're siding with the man, and of course it goes both ways, but if you're not speaking out in defense of actual biological women, the only type of women that there is, and you're instead supporting the idea that these men are proclaiming themselves to be women, then don't you realize that you're stripping actual women of all rights to be a woman? What does it mean to be a woman? How can we allow that nonsense to take place? How can more people not be gathering and saying, we've had enough of this garbage. Let's get petitions together. Let's go and picket. Let's go and protest. Let's go speak to the congressmen and our representatives and say, no, we're not going to have this garbage any longer. You're not going to force feed us these lies and these delusions that come from nowhere except from Satan. Oh, wait a minute, but if you bring up God, matter of fact, you never hear him talk about God, do you? That's why I say in the book that in doing my study and research for the book, I was trying to find out if there was any statistic that demonstrates the the number of people who are trans activists and part of that movement, and transgender people themselves who are actually atheists. Because I cannot fathom and can't comprehend a person who would be God conscious and deny their creation, deny their biological reality. It's like saying that God made mistakes. He's made not just a mistake for that individual, but made multiple mistakes. And I can't. How can you be a God conscious person and make those types of claims? Whether you come out and actually say it or you support the idea, it's vicariously saying that God makes mistakes and human beings have more right to define who they are than the actual design that the Creator created them to be. The design of the Creator. Let me finish up this article just real quick. It says in February, several of Thomas's own teammates, in an unsigned letter sent to Penn State, Pennsylvania, and the Ivy League officials said Thomas holds an unfair advantage because, again, she, quote unquote, she underwent male puberty. Listen to that phrase right there. She. It makes no sense. I don't know why these writers do. I know why they do it, because if they don't do it, they're no longer employed. But because she, quote unquote, she underwent male puberty. No, she ever undergoes male puberty. Goes through male puberty. Unless, of course, they get put on puberty blockers and they get put on testosterone. And then they'll experience male puberty. But it's by human design. It's by human engineering, not by natural design. It's unnatural, right? But obviously, William Thomas underwent male puberty because he's not a she, he's a he, and therefore he underwent male puberty. So Thomas began, quote unquote, her medical transition in 2019, complying with current NCAA guidelines that require transgender female athletes to complete a full year of testosterone suppressing treatment before they're able to compete on a women's sports team. Also in February, several members of Penn's women's swimming and diving team in a statement said Thomas has their full support in her transition. So some of the members of the swim team are speaking out against William Thomas, and some are in full support of, quote unquote, her transition. What a foolish position to take. Because all those women, all those females who are in full support of this man are now going to have to sit by in the audience as this man becomes and is nominated as Woman of the Year. He hasn't been chosen as Woman of the Year yet, but he's been nominated as Woman of the Year. But all those in support of him, they weren't nominated as Woman of the Year. Maybe one of them could have been, and one of them would have been, because each school can pick someone from. I think they pick 2 or 3 from each school or whatever to put them into the running or whatever. But obviously, someone missed out on the opportunity, and it's one of these people who supported probably, and the people who didn't support it. But obviously, women, missed out on the opportunity to be nominated as Woman of the Year, something they could have, added to their resume at some point or something. I don't know. Instead, William Thomas can add it to his list of achievements as the woman that he'll never be. So it says Brooke Ford, a former Stanford swimmer who was also nominated for the NCAA Woman of the Year award this year, in January said she has great respect for Thomas. Ford raced against Thomas in the 500 freestyle event at the NCAA championships in March, placing 4th. So here's this woman who has great respect for this man who's not a woman, who's competing against her while pretending to be a woman. What type of concoction have these people swallowed? What kind of poison has diluted their thinking? It's complete and utter insanity. This person goes on to say, and I quote, social change is always a slow and difficult process, and we rarely get it correct right away, Ford said in January. She goes on to say, being among the first to lead such a social change requires an enormous amount of courage. And I admire Leah, quote unquote Leah, for her leadership that will undoubtedly benefit many trans athletes in the future. End of quote. Wow, what courage and what leadership. How courageous a person can be, man. To go over and just take over this woman's sport. Wouldn't it have been more courageous and more deserving of respect if William Thomas would have trained even harder to compete against the men that he was originally competing against up until 2019? Wouldn't that take the courage to say, you know what? I want to be the best, and so I'm going to try harder than anyone else. I'm going to work harder than anyone else. I'm going to give it my best, and and I might come up short, but I'm going to give it my all. That's a person that should be looked upon as being courageous. That's the person that you want to follow. Follow their example. That's the type of person who's a leader. Because even if they don't achieve what they tried to do, the fact that they put forth great effort in trying and attempting to do it, that's something to be worthy of respect. But a person who takes the easy way out says, you know what, I can get in this pool over here with all these big, strong guys that are better swimmers than me, or I can go jump in that pool over there with those much smaller and physically, weaker women. But I can be a champion of the world over there. I could be woman of the year over there. I could be anything. I could be Madonna over there. I could be, I don't know, Cleopatra. I could do anything over there. Well, that's what it seems. William Thomas wasn't man enough to compete with the men. He had to go over there and pick on the girls. But that's courageous and that's leadership? No, that's weak. And that's dishonest. And that's cheating. And it says, as of now, the future is uncertain. Last month, the International Swimming Federation, the world governing body of elite swimming, announced that a majority of its members had approved a new policy that effectively bans transgender women from participating in elite international swimming competitions. Wonderful, fantastic. USA Swimming, the national governing body of elite swimming in the U.S., in February said it would, effective immediately, require transgender female athletes to prove that the concentration of testosterone in their blood has been less than 5 nanomoles per liter continuously for at least 36 months, the most restrictive of any sports governing body. The NCAA has said it is reviewing the new USA swimming policy, but has yet to adopt it. Thomas ended, quote unquote, her collegiate swimming career and, quote unquote, her first season competing for Penn's women's team after 3 years on the university's men's team as a four-time Ivy League champion and NCAA title holder. Now, let me read this last sentence that will clarify this. Thomas ended her collegiate swimming career and her first season competing for Penn's women's team after 3 years on the men's team as a 4-time Ivy League champion and NCAA title holder. Now, all of the accolades for William Thomas came in the last year of him competing against women. There were no accolades in the 3 years prior. It says, in being nominated for the Athletic Association's Women of the Year award, Thomas joins hundreds of quote unquote again other female athletes from member schools across the country representing 23 sports in all 3 NCAA divisions as 2022 marks the 50th anniversary of Title IX. The NCAA Women of the Year program is an important opportunity to honor and reflect on the impact of women on intercollegiate sports. The NCAA said Friday in a news release recognizing all 577 nominees. So, this is just complete and utter insanity. It's complete and utter insanity. I mean, so this is why I feel very strongly about these issues because, again, if we're God conscious, how can we allow these things to happen without speaking out against them? Any God conscious person should be eager and willing to say, no, William Thomas is not a female, and nominating him as Woman of the Year is wrong. He can't be a woman. He can't give birth. He doesn't have ovaries. He doesn't have a cervix. He's got testes and a penis. He's got an Adam's apple. So let's do this. If you'd like to come and join the panel, feel free to come and give your opinion on this if you would like. You can join the panel by using that link there. I'm going to go ahead and post it in the chat. But feel free to come and give your opinion on this whole ordeal. And while we're waiting for people to come, if someone comes, all right, I'm posting the link in the chat right now. If you would like to come and join me on the panel and give your opinion and speak up on this issue, feel free to do so by clicking the link. But also, there's other things you could do. Again, I mentioned that I've written a book on this topic that will be released on September the 5th. And the name of the book is titled Your Right to Self-Identify, My Right to Disagree. You can see it, matter of fact, on the screen there beside William Thomas. William Thomas. But if you'd like a free copy of this book, do this. Send me an email at info@kennybalmer.com. I'm going to tell you how to get a copy of the book. Inshallah, God willing. All right, so I see Brother Muhammad with Coventry Faith Foundation is backstage, so I'm going to bring the brother on.
Assalamu alaikum. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, brother. How are you?
Wow. Just really want to mention that it's really nice to see you again, and I can see how passionate this topic. How I think I went backstage for a second. I'm back here now, right?
No, I just changed the screen.
Oh, all right. Okay. Alhamdulillah. I can see how passionate you are about this, and it is a quite serious topic that everybody should be made aware of. The shocking part of this story is this particular William. I think he wants to be known as Leah Thomas now. And in 2021, in December, he was bragging. He got caught actually bragging about how easy he was winning the races, because the rest of the swimmers were kind of were females and they were slightly weaker.
Yeah.
So it's just absolutely ridiculous, and I was reading about the article, whereas a lot of the women didn't feel comfortable taking part in the races because he was doing so well in the women's races. So
Yeah.
it's just absolutely shocking. Sometimes, Brother Kenny, I'm reading this and I'm listening to you. There's an old saying here in the UK. I don't know if to cry or laugh. I don't know if you heard this
Yeah.
saying
Yeah.
before, but it's just totally shocking, Brother Kenny. It really is.
It is. It most certainly is. It's that's what I was saying. Are we living in a nightmare? Is this the Twilight Zone? What's going on here? I can't believe we're even talking about this. I mean, it's really happening. We're really talking about this. I would have never imagined this in a million years that that a man would claim that he's a woman and that we're supposed to support that idea and vice versa. I just don't understand it. It's just this insanity. It's the devil, man. I mean, it's there's no other way about to explain it. It's
Mm.
just ridiculous. So
Who's actually pumping this idea? Like you mentioned, it's got to be the shayateen from the mankind, the devils from the mankind. Uh, who are the politicians or big organization companies? Who's pumping this out?
everyone from governments on down, Walt Disney's supporting it. Just you name a company and they're supporting it because to not support it is they receive backlash from it. So it's a major um, push. It's like a political campaign. It's like a political movement in a sense. And if you speak out against it, you're 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 doing something wrong. And it's just crazy, man.
It's interesting you say that. If it's a political movement, right? Because there can't be many transgender individuals in the world. So they're not looking for the votes, okay? They can't be looking for the votes. Is it just to make the ordinary people feel insecure, basically? Because, as God fearing people, our frame of and thought process is different. Do you think they're trying to alienate the normal people, the religious folk, to say,
Well, yeah,
these
absolutely.
guys are too extreme?
Yeah, yeah. Well, they're making you know what's normal be odd, appear to be odd.
Mm, mm,
What's odd appear to be normal. And it's the thing is the more odd you are, the more you're supported, the more um, the more you're embraced by this particular group of people. And the thing is, it's a political movement in the sense that because companies, by example, companies don't want to lose their customer base, and because politicians, by example, don't want to lose votes, um, you know, they support these ideas almost by. That's what I was trying to explain it earlier. That if you're supporting these ideas, then inevitably it's like worshiping uh, this falsehood. It's like worshiping a person like William Thomas and his declaration that he's a female that he obviously can't be. Um, but you're doing it for what? Why would Joe Biden do it? Joe Biden
mm.
would do it because he doesn't want to lose the votes from this particular group of people who has actually a very loud voice at this point. Um, when you have movie after movie and show after show and um, all these things that are incorporating these ideas into their their systems and all the rainbows and all the all the all inclusive ideas that we see being propagated. It's obviously it's obvious that to speak out against it puts you in a negative light, and you're actually targeted as being a bigot, being prejudiced, and so forth if you speak out against it. And so, uh,
It's interesting. It really is interesting. I know the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, mentioned that he actually cursed the men who imitate women and women who imitate men. And the Prophet ﷺ, also mentioned that whoever does these type of actions, you should throw them out your houses. This is an authentic hadith in Sahih Bukhari. So imitating a woman or a woman imitating a man is totally forbidden in Islam. So I know imitating is different than transgender, but there is, of course, that imitation because you're not really a woman; you're a man. You still got the parts of a. Don't want to be too graphic, but you've still got the parts of a man.
yeah, sure,
And you mentioned that story about the man who went into the women only swimming area saying that he's female, and then he gets aroused, he walks around, and you know what's happening. It's absolutely crazy.
yeah, yeah. That's right.
Shocking, really. Even
And
if the Prophet ﷺ also mentioned that curse be on the man who wears the women's clothes, and also a woman who wears women's clothes and a man who wears women's clothes. So vice versa. This is another authentic hadith in Abu Dawood. So even dressing like a woman or a woman dressing like a man, is totally forbidden in Islam. So, Brother Kenny, I really don't know what to say. I'm really like sometimes quite shocked with some of the stories that I read in the newspaper and the media and information that you give, mashallah, on your channel. Is that I don't know what to do, Brother Kenny, because
yeah,
it's just like when you're like you're just walking down the road, a random bloke could just slap you across the face, and you for that split second you're thinking, what was that about?
yeah.
And I'm having this effect right now. Like, what's
That's
going
crazy.
on?
No, it's crazy. It's totally insane. It's totally insane. I call it like a political movement and almost like a religious movement in a sense because these ideologies are being accepted like it's part of their faith that they really believe that a person has the right to claim that they're whatever they want to be. I have a chapter in the book titled "High Priest of Sexology," and referring to Dr. John Money and also Alfred Kinsey. And I'm going to read something from this because it kind of coincides with what we're talking about here. It says so. I start this chapter. I'm just going to read a couple of few paragraphs. It says some people refer to doctors, physicians, surgeons, and psychiatrists as the high priests and monks of science and psychology. High priests are people who hold positions of power and influence as recognized and respected authorities in a field of study, doctrine, art, or movement. They establish the rules for society that are meant to benefit all, but sometimes those rules cause more harm than good. That even applies to rules established by members of the medical community who are responsible for setting the accepted standards of care for their patients. Many science-minded people embrace agnostic or atheistic views. Because they are not God conscious, they often create their own standards of subjective morality. To use a religious analogy, in the early days of Christianity, only the priests and monks had access to religious writings. Common people were not allowed access to those documents, let alone allowed to read them. They were taught what to think and what to believe by the monks and priests, and they were not allowed to question the authority of the church. Doing so could have you labeled as a heretic or placed at risk of being burnt at the stake. The issues circulating around the transgender movement of today are not so different. The ideologies of the proverbial high priests and monks of the medical world, where transgenderism is concerned, are being propagated amongst the masses and those who reject those ideologies are ostracized or silenced in the flames of cancel culture. This is not to suggest that everyone in the medical field lacks a God consciousness. However, the message being distributed to the masses by many within the community regarding the treatment for so-called transgender people, gender ideologies, and gender affirming care, bear with me one second, gender affirming care are certainly void of any recognizable elements that demonstrate the acknowledgement of a creator, blessed and exalted is he. I'm just going to read this last paragraph here. Religious people are taught to be on the lookout for false prophets who come to lead people astray. False prophets present themselves as trustworthy, but they are really pawns of Satan who mislead people with lies and deception. Satan uses them in an effort to destroy the creation of Allah, blessed and exalted is he, because he can't create himself. Both the Bible and Quran refer to Satan as a sworn enemy of humankind. The Quran also describes him as being jealous of man due to his arrogance. In the Quran, Allah, blessed and exalted is he, speaks of a time before the creation of man in which he informed the angels and the jinn that he was making a new creation to be his vicegerent of the earth. He describes humankind as being the best of all his creation, blessed and exalted is he. However, being of the jinn, who are made of a smokeless blue flame, Satan, Iblis, considered himself to be greater than man, who was created from the soils of the earth. Nothing has changed. Satan still considers himself to be greater than man. Therefore, he is cast out. Therefore, he was cast out of the presence of Allah due to his arrogance and hatred for Adam, peace and blessings be upon him, and for rebelling against Allah, blessed and exalted is he, and what he had decreed. In response, Satan professed himself to be a sworn enemy of man and promised to destroy as many human beings as possible before the day of judgment. One of the ways he achieves this is by using false prophets and their followers who go about the business of spreading false doctrines. They're able to mislead many people because they are good at building trust. They make people want to follow them by presenting themselves as knowledgeable and sincere. They hoodwink people into believing they are doers of good. Then their disciples, quote unquote, repeat what they have learned as more people become entangled and trapped in falsehood. Their success lies in the speed and consistency of which their falsehoods are spread. The World Wide Web and modern technology have allowed them the opportunity to entangle many people in various webs of lies and deceits. This is the last part. We're living in an age more advanced than ever before in the history of the world, and like Satan, in many ways, humanity has also become arrogant. That arrogance has caused many people in the medical community to set aside facts and even basic logic and reason in order to embrace gender ideologies that deny truth. They are ideologies propagated by liars that contradict the very science they claim to embrace. The government and the media have also embraced lies from people like the missionary of sex himself, Dr. John Money, and Dr. Alfred Kinsey, the quote-unquote father of the sexual revolution, whose ideologies were at first strongly embraced, then adamantly rejected, only to be embraced once again by modern-day members of the medical world who promote the idea that a person can be born into the wrong body. They claim anatomy has nothing to do with someone being male or female. They say people are what they think they are. They promote the belief that a person's body should be conformed to match their thoughts instead of helping people find a way to accept their bodily reality. Even though biological facts prove the claims of the false teachers from the past wrong, this new age of transgender activists have embraced those debunked ideologies religiously. They are ideologies that are more akin to witchcraft and sorcery, and more people are being seduced by them as time moves along. I'll stop right there, but that chapter goes on. It gets very interesting because I go into what these two doctors, Dr. John Money and Dr. Alfred Kinsey, what they actually did. They're both known to be pro-pedophilic, meaning they believed that it was okay for adults to engage in sexual activity with children. Dr. Alfred Kinsey actually paid people out of his own pocket to to um, sexually abuse children and keep detailed records and notes about what they did to these children as part of his studies. He paid them to do it. So if you're paying someone to go and commit crimes, you're actually endorsing that. You're enabling them. You have now employed them to be pedophiles, and that's what these two characters did. And that's where literally all of these ideas about the modern day gender ideologies that we're dealing with, they all come from these characters. And the thing is, most people don't know about this. Surely the transgender, quote unquote, trans people themselves, they usually don't know about this. Why? Because the transgender activists and the influencers, they don't want it to be talked about. That's why I made sure that I addressed these characters in a couple of different chapters, and also their influence on doctors and surgeons as well, that have actually embraced these ideologies like a religion, like they've been entranced by witchcraft or sorcery, and they're repeating it. They're becoming disciples of these two individuals. So, by example, modern day doctors, it's like, Jesus, peace be upon him, comes along and he teaches his message to the disciples, right? Or any prophet or messenger. They teach others, and then those others go on and convey their message and pass it on to other people and other people. So inevitably they become disciples of those people. So these modern day doctors and surgeons have embraced the ideologies of known pedophiles who invented the whole idea of gender theory, and they are propagating it like it's gospel, like it's a message from God himself. But the thing is, what God? Even the Bible says that Satan is the god of this world, of this life, meaning that he's leading people astray, and so a person can surely, if you embrace the ideas of Satan, inevitably you follow the path of Satan, then obviously you're worshiping Satan by following him. So it's crazy, man. And so the thing is, we have to come together. We have to speak out against this stuff, and we need to find constructive ways to do it, to where, no, we're not saying to go and oppress anyone. We're not saying to do any type of harm or injustice or anything like that, but we have to speak out against the ideology itself and get these people the proper treatment that they need, which is mental. They need mental health treatment. They don't need to be hacking away at their bodies and stuffing their bodies with foreign materials in order to transform themselves into things that they never be. Basically, it's medical costuming. You can stuff yourself full of all kind of drugs and fake breasts and all that, but you're just putting on a medical costume. It's not really changing who you are genetically or biologically. So we have to do something collectively. We have to do something against it. And so the only thing I can think to do, I feel so passionate about it, brother, that that I've written the book, and I need people to help support the idea. If you don't want to get out and speak against it yourself, at least you can support those who do, not just myself. But matter of fact, I have another book here. I haven't read this book yet, but it's a book by a lady by the name of Kara Dansky, The Abolition of Sex, and the subtitle is How the Transgender Agenda Harms Women and Girls. And so, I support these types of authors and people who are activists who speak out against these ideologies. I mentioned a number of them in the book, and so I feel like I'm talking about this because I feel like, as a Muslim, I feel obligated to do something and to say, wait a minute, Allah doesn't make mistakes, and I'm not going to stand by while people claim that He does. And so, if people who are listening now or in the future, if you'd like to help with this endeavor, you can do so by joining my book launch team initially. The book won't be published until September the 5th. But if you'd like to help with the book launch and support the, um, the 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 launch of the book, uh, you can do so by emailing me at info@kennybomber.com. I'll post the email here for your convenience. But I need your help, inshallah, to help promote this book and to get this message out, um, inshallah, God willing. So if you'd like to join the
Inshallah.
book and help in this endeavor, you can send me an email at info@kennybomber.com, and I will give you the details about what you can do to help and so forth. Then it's not going to take up a bunch of your time, just a few things that you can do. And if you do join the book launch team and you do get behind this at any point, I will. I'm going to give you a free copy of the book, a free paperback copy. I'll send it to you for free, and just for simply supporting the idea that our God, our Creator, does not make mistakes, and that He does not trap souls into the wrong bodies and so forth. If you believe that you're God conscious, then inshallah, I ask you to fight this battle along with me. It is it's a jihad. I mean, we're fighting against falsehood. We're fighting. I mean, so if you believe in fighting on the cause of Allah, then you are uh, one of the mujahideen, and so you should be supporting one another and fighting against these lies and these deceptions from Satan himself, from Iblis himself. Inshallah, may Allah accept
Inshallah.
our efforts in that direction.
Amen. Amen. I've got a short amount of time, Brother Kenny. I've got to go work in the morning. I was watching a short interview with this particular William Thomas being interviewed, and the way he talks and everything, there's nothing about him apart from his long curly hair that really makes him stand out to say that he's actually a female, and he's actually
Yeah,
wearing a swimming costume, a female swimming costume, and you can see. I'm not trying to be too graphic,
yeah.
but I'm like,
Yeah, you see a little extra there, to say the least. You see a little extra that you don't. No, I understand. I mean, he's a male through and through. That's all there's to
yeah,
it. You know, that's why to me. I know it sounds funny or whatever. It's
mm,
funny, but it's sad at the same time that I want to
yeah,
say, look, I can see your Adam's apple, right? I can see it right there. I can see it. I
yeah,
mean, I might as well be saying. I mean, I hate to be graphic, but you might as well be saying, "Hey, William, I see you here in this little lady swim outfit, but man, I can see your package down here. I can see it. It's there. It's not you're a boy. You're a male. You're a
yeah,
man. You're not a lady. I mean,
mm,
uh, do you menstruate out of that thing? No, you don't. I mean, let's be honest. So I don't mean to be graphic, but it's just so ridiculous that it's like, what
mm,
else do you say? I mean, what do you listen? I'm gonna be if when I come across such people, and I would defend them against any kind of harm, or if someone's making mockery of them, or they're trying to, belittle them. But depending on the attitude of the character, as far as what are they trying to propagate. Matter of fact, I'll be honest with you. Not too long ago, I was I was in line at a register, and there was a man there dressed as a woman. Clearly, no feminine features whatsoever. Matter of fact, had facial hair and so forth. Clearly a man, and the another man that was in line was getting change from him or whatever, and he told him, "Oh yeah, yes sir." He asked him a question or something. He called him sir,
mm,
and the man dressed as a woman says, "Ma'am, you mean ma'am?" Oh, and the guy's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I'm sorry."
mm,
I didn't say anything right there, um, because that's one man dealing with another man inevitably. But I thought about it later, and I thought, should I have said something then? And should I have said, wait a minute, what do you mean, ma'am? I don't want to cause any issues. But let's say that I would have inadvertently said the same thing, and it would have said yes, sir. Because I'm when I deal with people out in public, I usually say ma'am and sir, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, and so forth. I do that consistently. And so if I was addressing this person, he asked me a question, and he's dressed like a lady, um, I'm probably going to still say yes, sir. And don't I have a right to do that? And if he responds in the same way and says, "You mean, ma'am?" Uh, I'm going to say as politely as possible, "No, I mean, sir." I mean, what am I supposed to do? Act stupid and act like I've lost my sense, and lie along with you because you're lying to yourself? And am I supposed to participate in that lie that you're telling yourself while my creator is watching? No, I'm not going to do that. So, because if I did that, then I would be putting that man who's a woman, I would be putting his putting him before the creator, before Allah, because I know that Allah made him a man. And so if I call him a woman, in spite of the fact that I know Allah made him a man, then I'm doing something in my mind. I'm speaking against Allah. I don't. It's not that I don't want to cause any problem with that person, but I certainly don't want to. I'd rather have a problem with that person than have a problem with Allah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And even if I'm just trying to be polite, I don't think I'm obligated to call a person like William Thomas or Bruce Jenner or that man behind the counter that I just mentioned to refer to any of them as females or women that I know that they're not. But don't I have a right not to? I'm not trying to make them do anything, but nor am I going to allow them to try to make me do anything or say anything that I don't want to say.
Yeah, absolutely. This is what I'm trying to say. I think the average man, the average male and female with a God-fearing thought of process is made to feel insecure by powers and organizations and the politicians and stuff. And like you said, it feels like everything's been turned upside down. The odder you are, the stranger you are, you seem to have more power and more support. If you're normal, just keep, just stay low.
Yeah.
But if you want to come out and say, tomorrow I'm a 6-year-old child, a female child, and I start dressing, I'll probably get so much support in from the politicians and stuff. It'll be just ridiculous. And I really do think it is a mental illness. I really do think that.
Oh, sure it is. It's certainly a mental illness, and it's a spiritual illness. It's a social illness. That's why it's referred to as a social contagion. That it's like an epidemic, or it's spreading like COVID. That it's spread so rapidly that it's spreading like an epidemic. It's
absolutely.
And you're right. I mean, if you are just a average Joe, you don't have the right to speak out against anyone.
Absolutely.
I say speak out. I don't even mean to put it in those terms. But your rights. You don't have a right.
It's like you're powerless, Brother Kenny. You're powerless against the law. You're powerless against the politicians. You're powerless. All you're supposed to be doing is working, paying your taxes, paying your bills, and that's it. Like a slave. Basically, you're just a slave.
Just shut up. Yeah. Just shut up and
absolutely
play your role. and let us do what we want to. And you're just the average Joe, and if you don't want to be a part of this, then
mm,
you can leave, or you're basically heretical in that you don't
mm,
embrace these religious type ideologies,
mm.
and that's why I mentioned that you'll be burnt on the stake of cancel culture. That if you don't
Yeah.
embrace these ideas, you're labeled a heretic, or you're labeled an outsider, and you're burnt at the stake of cancel culture, and that they're going to get rid of you because you're speaking contrary to what um, what their movement is has embraced and is promoting. And
Mm,
but that's why the title of the book. Um, and again, I need people to help support this. Inshallah, it's we're still a few weeks out, a number of weeks out before the publication hits on September the 5th. But this to me this is a very important book, and uh, I would really appreciate if people would join the book launch team and help support it, inshallah. And by doing so, again, you're going to get a free copy of the book. I'm going to send you a free paperback copy, and all you need to do is email me at info@kennybulmer.com. Email me at info@kennybulmer.com, and I'm going to send you a free paperback copy of the book. Um, there's a couple of steps that I'll need you to do along the way, but nothing major. But this is just you know we should all be listen that we should all be coming together in different ways to combat this evil, and
mm,
do it in a respectful way. Do it to where no one gets hurt or harmed. But we I feel obligated. That's all there is to it. I feel obligated.
mm.
I see we have brother friendly Muslim backstage. I'm gonna bring him on.
Okay, I'm going to shoot off now, inshallah. I'm going to give my salams. I've got work in the morning.
Assalamu
Friendly
alaikum.
Muslim. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh, brother.
How are you,
Thank you for
brother?
joining us, brother Muhammad. Alhamdulillah, I'm good, brother. How are you? Assalamu alaikum.
So, brother Mohammed's got to go. Is that correct? You've got to go,
Yeah,
brother.
I've got to go. I've got to go work, Habibi, in the morning, 6:30 UK time. So I've got to say my Isha prayer and then, get some rest, inshallah.
Inshallah, brother.
I'm
Alhamdulillah.
planning to do a stream, brother Kenny, on Sunday. Hopefully, I do a stream on Sunday. So feel free, everybody, to join in that stream,
Inshallah.
inshallah.
Yeah. So before we go, make sure you subscribe to brother Muhammad's the channel at Coventry Faith Foundation. Yeah, Coventry Faith Foundation, and take note of his sponsor as well, Bear Beard. And matter of fact, I've been communicating with Bear Beard this past week about some things.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, show
Thank
the
you.
brothers some support, inshallah. And so, brother Muhammad, thank you for joining the panel. And
You're welcome.
adding
You're
your-
welcome.
yeah.
Inshallah,
May Allah bless you.
keep up the great work, guys. And friendly Muslim, hopefully, I speak and see you soon.
Inshallah, brother.
Alhamdulillah, brother Kenny. I hope everything goes well for you. Your book goes really well. Your previous books, Consider Islam, it's been very beneficial for me. So I definitely recommend the brothers and sisters to go on Amazon, type in Kenny Burma, and you'll see the books that he's got available. So guys, just check it out, and then leave a review. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you for having me, brother Kenny. And
Thank you, brother.
inshallah, may Allah protect and preserve all of you. And inshallah, see you very soon. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Wa alaikum salam, brother.
Assalam.
Actually, brother,
Friendly
yes,
Go ahead,
brother.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say-
Actually, brother Mohammed was talking about your other books that you've written also. So I was thinking of doing some readings when we're online, and because I've been on the EA Dawa channel quite a lot, and so we're next week inshallah I'll be sharing parts of your book and going through that topic also, and
Okay.
discussing the book launch and this topic, which is very prevalent on this. So I think that would be a good stream.
Sure.
For you to even talk to or connect with the brothers. Yeah, brother, I've been reading through your book, and inshallah, it's very informative. Lots of great points in there, and uh, information that I had no idea about. And I
Yeah.
think it's going to be very beneficial to a lot of parents to understand what's really going on here,
Yeah.
because it's something that people aren't aware of.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah. It's I as I mentioned earlier, and I've mentioned a number of times, that I would never imagined that I would be writing a book on this topic. I can't believe we're even talking about it. Period. But once I started doing the research for it and discovered where these ideologies originated and so forth, I've been so entranced by it. I say entranced. I've been in engulfed with it. Being seeking out more and more information about it and knowledge about it. Listening to different perspectives. Transitioners and detransitioners and psychologists and people from the medical community, reading articles and books and so forth. I mentioned the book. I haven't started reading this book yet, but I just got it recently. The Abolition of Sex by Kara Dansky, How the Transgender Agenda Harms Women and Girls. I haven't started reading it yet, but it's I do so not because I've been thinking about this lately. Like, am I focusing on it so much that I'm losing track of Islam? But no, that's not the case. That's not the case. I'm seeking knowledge about it because of Islam. In that, you know, when we're trying to strive in the cause of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, and we're trying to uphold the truth of Allah and what He's revealed and what He's decreed and how He's created mankind and created this world, and we're speaking in defense of that, then that's dawah within itself. So haven't been engaging in a lot of interfaith dialogue and so forth, because I've been spending so much time studying about these issues and so forth. Um, but it's something that I feel passionate about, because it's one thing to engage in discussions with other God fearing people that their beliefs are a little bit different than yours, but when we're dealing with I've described as a political movement and almost a religious movement, to the degree that it's denying the creation of Allah Himself and speaking so counter to it, it's like, what's more valuable to spend my time in talking about? You know, we can talk about the crucifixion of Jesus, peace be upon him, all day, whether or not he's been crucified or he hasn't. And I'm not mocking anyone who does this. I've done it plenty myself. But the point being is that this particular issue is so insane and so evil in my mind that it's like I just have to do something about it. And may Allah accept my efforts and my intentions. Because surely I've spent a lot of time studying and writing the book and so forth. And Alhamdulillah, may Allah accept the efforts and the intentions. Just I don't know, brother. I just feel obligated to. We have to speak out against this nonsense. Um,
No, absolutely, brother. I mean, the thing is that people are getting lost in all this pushing of everything that's coming through, and what you're doing is you are aiding the ummah with the work that you're doing, because you spent time to gain this knowledge, to put the effort in writing a book, to make it accessible, to help people understand what are the backgrounds of what's actually going on, because it's a machine of information that's pumping out things, and it helps people how to deal with the situation and educate their children. which is really the biggest priority is the Muslim generation of children, and how parents are. So I think again with your faith work, this is part of it, bro. Absolutely, you are contributing to a generation of parents who are in need of assistance on how to deal with these issues and understand the background of them.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah, it's crazy. It's so bizarre, man. Just it's the more you study it, the more you listen. And you know what's happening lately is that there's a lot of people that are coming out that are detransitioning, and they literally try to suppress these people. And when these people come out and they speak and they say, you know, I transitioned and I made a mistake and I regret every moment of it. I wish I'd never done this. I wish my parents would have, you know, spoken up and tried to get me therapy. And I wish they wouldn't have been so eager um, to go along with what I was saying, because now I've hacked away at my body and I've made altering changes that will never be can never be fixed. Um, they're attacking these people as those these people are lying, and that they're not really detransitioners, that they are um, they're just imposters that are just spreading lies and hatred. When in reality, what they're doing is they're speaking against the lies by saying they're just telling their story, saying I was wrong. I thought I was a man that thought I was a female, thought I was a trapped, you know, female trapped inside of a male's body, and I was wrong. I'm actually a male, and I regret this. I want to be a male. I want to be the male that I was biologically designed to be. And these types of people are being targeted by the transgender activists and the influencers and the transgender community as though they're doing something wrong just for simply telling their story. But on the flip side of that, if you have someone come along and say, you know, they come out and say, I'm coming out as trans, then these people are supported. So again, it boils down to what's right is wrong and what's wrong is right in the minds of these people, and literally just trying to flip everything upside down, and it's just crazy.
Yeah,
These
no, it's you're funny. I'm not funny you say that, but yeah, I've heard, and there was another. I think it was the Dean show. There was a sister talking there, and she said that she is trying to voice people's. She knows a lot of people that have made the mistake and want to go back to what they originally were, and there's a huge number of them, in fact, and
Yeah,
she's trying to get them voiced. You know what I will do is I will get you the video, and email that to you. Go back to that show, and again, I think that would be a great benefit if you could host her, because she actually had a lot of people that wanted to speak up,
wow, yeah,
and let people know about their journey too, and the mistake they made. And we
yeah,
do need to hear about people that feel that they were pressured, or maybe they did make a mistake, or they felt they made a mistake,
yeah.
and so
Maybe
that
maybe I should do a segment on it, because I have a segment that I've done a number of times called "Reasons to Revert." Obviously, reasons to revert to Islam, where people are telling their stories, and maybe we could do something similar, you know, as far as um, detransitioning, and let these people come on, tell story after story about, you know, about their experience with all of this, and, you know, engaging, you know, being around people who are engaging in what's referred to as gender affirming care, and um, you know, let them tell their stories and their mistakes along the way, and you know, that way other people can hopefully, you know, as many people as possible can be discouraged from accepting these ideas, because they're coming after the children, man. They're coming strong after the children. They're starting in pre-K and they're working their way up, and it's crazy.
yeah, no,
So
brother. What other books have you written? You've written two other books, is that correct?
yeah, so let me put this on here just real quick. So the two books that are published right now are. Bear with me one second. Uh, the two books that are published right now are the two books on the top. Consider Islam, the first edition, and the white cover is the second edition. Um, but so the book in the red cover, you might be an Islamophobe if that book is almost done. I actually put that book on hold because of this book. Your right to self-identify, my right to disagree. I felt like this topic is so important right now that it was going to reach. A book like You Might Be an Islamophobe If is going to not reach as wide of an audience, um, but this book on transgenderism it should reach a wider audience, and it's not about money or anything like that. It has nothing to do with it. But I just felt that the book on the transgender issue, because it's such a hot topic and it's like growing like crazy, that I need to get this book out and done. And I started in investing much of my time in doing the research for it, and I wrote this book pretty quickly overall. Um, much I wrote it much quicker than I wrote Consider Islam, and I wrote it much quicker than I wrote You Might Be an Islamophobe If, and I'm not actually done. Actually, that book is written. It just needs to be formatted and so forth. I got other steps that I need to do as far as You Might Be an Islamophobe If, but it's pretty much done. It's the book is already written, but I put it on hold to get this other book done. Um, and also the book, Everything is a Test. That book is I've already written about 10 or 11 chapters for that book. That book is a very personal book, and it's a hard book to write because I talk about the death of my son, and um, but I'm talking about issues within that book that are things that people go through, people that I've known personally, people that stories that I've heard about people, things that I've experienced myself, from the standpoint that we know that everything that we're facing in this life is a test from Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, and so that's like a book to try to encourage people to not succumb to depression and anxiety and all the stresses of life. To look at every situation that is being the test that it actually is, and to start facing life each morning when you wake up, facing the day as though I'm looking at every moment throughout this day as if I'm being tested by my Creator, because in fact that is the case. We believe that as Muslims, that we're being tested by Allah with everything that we experience. So that's what that book's about. So those books are pretty much done. They've just been put on hold for a bit until I get this book done, and then I'll go back and get, inshallah, I'll get You Might Be an Islamophobe If should be released by December, maybe January, inshallah. Actually, maybe longer because it's already fixing to be. This other book's coming out in September, and I'm actually behind um, a little bit um, from the original dates. But
Inshallah, brother.
so,
Everything with its time,
yeah, yeah,
and Alhamdulillah, you are still doing dawah and you're still providing help, and all of these things are part of Islam. Gaining knowledge, sharing knowledge, helping each other to get through difficult times, and difficult situations in life.
that's
And I hear a lot of parents with this situation with information being put into schools about how to deal with it. This is it's causing problems,
yeah,
because there seems no line. Um, I, I I I heard a story and I thought it wasn't serious at first. It was about people that were identifying as cats
yeah,
in a school, and they had asked for a kitty litter to be put into the unisex bathroom, and they had asked for the table to be lowered. And this is something that was being discussed,
yeah,
and apparently it's interspecies, which I didn't know was a thing. But they were saying, well, where are the lines um, that we need to draw, basically, like within a school, that we're putting kitty litters in the bathrooms.
yeah, Yeah, I've heard those about those as well. Um, it's I mean, what do you say about that? It's
Y-
just
y- and a student actually cut a hole in their uniform so they could have a tail and
yeah,
attach a tail, basically.
yeah,
And they didn't know how to say no
yeah, and
because
answering the teachers with meow, and and the teachers can't say anything, and if they say anything, they are ridiculed for it. It's just it's crazy, man. It's just complete insanity, and
brother, if you can, I'd love to also share with, like, when we're on panel, and we're looking to sort of share information with the brothers and sisters. These brothers at EA Dower and Issa Dower, they're doing streams literally 5 nights a week. Sometimes these streams are 16 hours. They're going just giving Dower all through the night, etc. But if you could maybe email me a copy of a PDF of the Consider Islam book. I definitely want to be talking about both of your books, and what you've done in terms of your dawah, and your journey in Islam also, brother. I want to share this with the people, because on average it's about 2.5 to 3,000 viewers sort of tuning in, and I definitely want to be talking about your book and your efforts, because some of the viewers there aren't aware of this as a resource, and that's something I definitely want to be sharing with them, inshallah.
yeah, I've sent it to you, inshallah. I've sent it to you, brother. Um, yeah, I'll certainly do that, inshallah. And I appreciate your efforts and your intentions in that, inshallah. I think some of those brothers might know about the book. I really don't know. I've been extremely busy, and I don't know, just but yeah, I appreciate that, brother. I'll send it to you. But,
Yeah, no,
let
no,
me,
absolutely. Go on.
yeah, you know, just think about what Allah reveals in Surah Nisa, chapter 4, verses 119 and 120, and how this applies to. I think we've discussed this before, but it's just so shocking. I'm not going to go into it too long, but the verses say, "Cursed by Allah, Satan said, and surely I will lead them astray, and surely I will arouse desires in them, and surely I will command them, and they will cut the ears of cattle, and surely I will command them, and they will change Allah's creation. Whoever chooses Satan for a guardian instead of Allah is verily a loser and has suffered a tremendous loss. Satan only makes them false promises and deludes them with empty hopes. Truly, Satan promises them nothing but delusion."
I
And
mean,
the, Alhamdulillah, these verses are so telling, because it's telling exactly what is going on right now. These people have false hope in that, like the detransitioners that we mentioned about, talked about, that their initial hope was that, man, if I could only be, like these females, that if I could only be a male, I'll be better respected. Or the males, if I can only be a female, I'll be I'll be accepted for such and such. If I could only change myself. And then they're led astray by the whisperings of the shaitan that tell them that, in fact, you can change yourself. You can change yourself completely to something totally different, and that's a delusion. So what Allah is revealed in these verses is exactly what is happening. That Satan is promising them that if you do this, you're going to feel better, and that's what this whole gender movement is about. That if you want to feel better, then you should probably transition. If you feel awkward, if you feel strange, if you feel uncomfortable, if you feel stressed out or feel anxiety or depressed, because of who you are or what you are, you're probably trans, and you should probably change. You should probably transition, and if you do so, you're gonna feel better. But what's happening is they don't feel better, and that's exactly what Allah is telling them. It's saying about these people in these verses. that Satan makes them false promises and deludes them with empty hopes. And truly, Satan promises them nothing but delusion. So they're giving all this, they're saying, oh, wow, yeah, if I can, start injecting estrogen into my body and get breast implants and start wearing change my name to a female name and start carrying myself and identifying as a female, I'll feel better. But the reality of it is that they don't. It's a false hope and it's a delusion, because inevitably they know internally that they know down deep that they can't be what they're claiming themselves to be. But if they do it, if they still go through the process and change Allah's creation, they're going to feel better. Man, that's the devil, man. And that's why I feel it's like I feel offended by it. And I feel like, man, if there's not a better time to become a soldier of Allah than this, what are we living this life for? We're all being tested by this very situation. We're being tested by the book. Everything's a test. I have one chapter that I address this issue in, but which kind of inspired this other book. But it's like, seriously, if we're not, as God-fearing people who believe in the truth of Allah and the design and creation of Allah, believe that Allah doesn't make mistakes, if this doesn't inspire us to say, wait a minute, man, let me stand on the side of truth despite what the world says. I don't care if the masses come against me. That's why on the book cover, what do you see? You see one face, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I encourage everyone. Everyone should be an individual saying, I don't care what everyone else says, Joe Blow or Jake or John or Sally or Sue says, but I believe in the truth of my Creator, and I am going to take my responsibility as a Muslim and say, no. You can do whatever you want to do, but don't try to impose it on me. And don't expect that I'm going to go along with it. And don't expect that I'm going to sit passively by, and while you manipulate and deceive other people. Because inevitably it's the devil doing it, it's Satan doing it. And man, if we're followers of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we're living by the truth that Allah has revealed to all the prophets and the messengers and what he's revealed in the Quran and so forth, then it is our obligation, man. It's our obligation to stand up and say, no, we cannot stand for this. We're not going to beat you up. We're not going to kill you. We're not going to try to harm you. We're not going to oppress you. Nor are we going to allow ourselves to be oppressed by lies and falsehood. We have a right as human beings, as God-fearing people, as individuals, as the creation of Allah, being the best of his creation, mankind being the best of his creation. Satan knows that we're the best of his creation. And so who's he attacking? Obviously animals aren't claiming that they can, a male, a bull is not claiming that he's a cow, and a cow's not claiming to be a bull and so forth. Obviously the animals and other forms of creation can't do that. Only the conscious people, on the conscious creation can. And that's why we're the ones being attacked. And because we're the ones being attacked, what do? Just stand by and let ourselves get beat up collectively? Or do individuals stand up like Allah says, let there rise among you a group who calls people to truth, right? Well, I believe that. I believe we should do that. And we should inspire one another to do the same thing. Let there rise among you a group among you, even if the rest don't. Let somebody stand up and say, no, we're not going to do this. Fighting the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's. I would hate to go to the day of judgment and Allah question me and say, you knew better. You knew not to call that man at the register a female because he wasn't a female. And you did it anyways. You called him she or her or yes, ma'am, knowing that that's a man right there because you didn't want to offend him, but you're offending the very truth that Allah has established based on the biological design of that man behind the register who's wearing a dress and got facial hair, he's got razor stubble. You're offending the truth. You're more worried about offending that individual. And, there's ways to deal with the situation without being blatantly rude and insensitive. But are we going to allow ourselves to be offended, to be run over, and the truth of Allah to be run over? Or because of this person and the group that stands behind them that's promoting lies and delusion, that Satan, it says it right here, cursed by Allah, Satan said, and surely I will lead them astray, and surely I will arouse desires in them, and surely I will command them, and they will cut the ears of cattle. I'm not even going to talk about that right now. And surely I will command them, and they will change Allah's creation. And whoever chooses Satan for a guardian instead of Allah is verily a loser and has suffered a tremendous loss. Now think about what's being said right there. If you're so worried about what that group says that's promoting this false ideology, then you've joined the ranks of the devil. You've joined the ranks of Iblis and his followers. I mean, that's what's being stated here. Whoever chooses Satan for a guardian instead of Allah is verily a loser. So because I want to be politically correct, I joined the ranks of the people who promote this transgender ideology because I don't want them to attack me. I don't want to be shadow banned. I don't want to be boycotted. I don't want to be fired. I don't want to be targeted. I don't want to be harmed. Then I'm seeking refuge in Satan instead of saying, Allah's my protector. I don't fear what you're going to do to me. You can't do anything that Allah does not allow to happen. You can't harm me in any way unless Allah has decreed it to be. And if he's decreed it to be, there's a reason for it. But if you understand what I'm getting at, is that we're seeking comfort. We're seeking the approval of, I'm not saying we, but I'm saying there's people out there that are seeking the approval of this particular group because they don't want to offend them. Or you joining ranks with the devil, man. There's no other way to put it. Don't join ranks with the liars. Don't join ranks with the people who promote the falsehood. Don't do that because that's where Satan is right there in the midst of it. Don't do that, especially if you're Muslims. Don't do that. And that's what I'm trying to convey in the book. And and I'm trying to lay the foundation of where these ideas come from, who established them. Inevitably, all evil comes from Satan. But where do these ideologies come from? Who is it affecting? How is it being propagated? How is it being promoted? Who's doing the influencing? Who's supporting it? Why are they supporting it? What's being denied? And what are we going to do about it? What do? You just let someone come into your home and just like, get out of the seat. I'm going to sit there. But wait a minute. That's been my favorite chair for years. That's my wife right there. You're sitting by my wife and whatever. You're just going to let someone come into your home and just bogard you? No. So are we going to let someone come into our consciousness and our truth that has been established by Allah and just wipe it away like it's nothing, or just take over and say, I know you used to think this way, but now you're going to think that way. You used to believe that a man was a man and a woman was a woman and so forth, but now you're going to believe, because we're telling you to believe it, that a man is a woman if he feels and thinks that he is, and vice versa. And if you don't accept it, then we've got a problem with you. Oh, I don't want you to have a problem with me. So, okay, Bruce Jenner, yes, she's Caitlyn, and no, it's not. He's still Bruce Jenner. He's still a man. So I would encourage people to look into these verses about Surah Nisa, chapter 4, verses 119, 120. There's many others as well. But study what's going on, what was going on in the days of the prophet, peace be upon him, with the cutting of the cattle ears, and why they were doing this, and why they're doing it today in modern times, trying to clone and replicate, and through human design, human manufacturing, trying to recreate the creation of Allah to try to make it better. They're doing that today by cutting the ears of bulls and taking the cells from the bulls and making cloning them because they want to make them better. They're not satisfied with what Allah has created. What does the verse say? I will mislead them, and I will encourage them to change the creation of Allah. You think mankind thinks you think you can do better than Allah? Have you seen what Allah has created? Matter of fact, I encourage people to Brother Paul Williams and his
blogging theology on his Twitter
post. Yes.
Yeah, oh, wow, amazing. No
It's
design.
amazing. Yes,
Yeah.
when you right, he always puts no design. He put one yesterday or maybe today that was I couldn't even see the creature, that was so camouflaged against the tree. It's some type of a tail. I don't remember what it was, but the thing is, there's so many things like that, and the human being has the audacity and the arrogance of Iblis himself, who is the originator of original arrogance, who misleads the human being into thinking that they too can do better than Allah. When Allah says he's made the best of his creation, mankind, because we have a consciousness, we have a freedom of choice, we have a physical body, we have a spiritual body. Animals have a physical body, they don't have a spiritual body. They don't have a freedom of choice, they react on instinct. All the rest of creation reacts on instinct. The human being, includes, angels, that they don't have a physical body, they do the command of Allah, and they don't react on instinct. They do what Allah says. I guess that's instinctively. They do what Allah says. They don't have a freedom of choice. The jinn, they don't have a physical body. They have a freedom of choice. They're not the best of mankind. I mean, the best of Allah's creation. Mankind, humanity is the best of Allah's creation because we encompass all of that. A physical body, a spiritual body, freedom of choice, and so forth. That's what Allah has decreed. Iblis wasn't satisfied with that. He's like, wait a minute. How can he be better than me? I'm made of a smokeless blue flame. He's made from dirt. Because Allah says, I know what you know not. Well, Satan and his followers rebelled against that whole idea, and they're still rebelling against that idea and causing human beings to think that they can do better than what Allah has done. No way whatsoever. There'll be fuel for the fire on the day of judgment. And the thing is, as Muslims, we should be concerned about those people and be willing to prevent other people from becoming fuel for that same fire by saying, no, let me tell you about Islam. Let me tell you what the Quran says on these issues. Let's look at this realistically. Let's look at the biology. Where did the biology come from? It come from a creator. Are you God conscious? If you're God conscious, then you should believe that the design of our creator is perfect. Are you really a God conscious person? Be Christian, Muslim, Jew, whoever, and you think that a man can be trapped inside of a woman's body and vice versa? Do you really believe that? Well, if you believe that, then you're denying the greatness of our creator in the process. And other God conscious people should be saying, wait a minute, you believe in the same God that I do, or do you? Because the God that I believe in doesn't make mistakes. And I'm offended if you, by any name, by any religion, I don't care who you are, if you are a God conscious person and you join the ranks of those who are not God conscious, meaning they don't even want to talk about the creator. They want to do what they want to do, and that's all there is to it. They don't want God being mentioned in the conversation. And that's the very solution to the problem. That's exactly what we need to be talking about. And but instead we want to I don't know, man, I don't want to get off track on it.
No, 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 but you're passionate about it, and that comes through. And it's I think it's essential that we're looking at the care principle and the harm principle of Islam, and that's where I think the book and the knowledge that you're sharing really comes in, and
Definitely.
also um, giving people Islam also in the form of dawah, that they can
Yeah,
find some stability within themselves and that stoicness, and to understand that they are loved by the Creator, and that they were made to deal with these trials and tribulations also. And uh, this there are things that are going to try and block the fitra, and block things like rational reasoning and revelation and all these other, and spirituality and all these other things that are there but are blocked. And this is another thing that obviously with um, this new information. And again, I mean, someone gave me a channel on TikTok, not on TikTok, on Twitter, to follow basically, and they sort of go through, some of the liberal things that are happening in the world, and some things are shocking. Some of the testimonies from teachers who are, essentially talking about their personal lives and saying that they feel comfort by speaking to 4 and 5 year olds about their personal life,
yeah,
and their personal intimate life in terms of why do we need to be, why is that, why aren't these things being highlighted, where the teacher is there to teach, not necessarily, take over a parent's role also.
yeah,
And in some regards, the parents are being shunned out completely, with some of the stuff that's being in schools. That if your parents don't love you the way you are, the teacher will, and sort of creating that separation.
yeah,
Another story I saw, his child was put on medication and not it wasn't told about it.
yeah,
And he was like, "Well, how do I not know about this sort of stuff? My child's been put on antidepressants for 3 months, and I wasn't informed about it.
yeah,
They had no idea, and apparently it was fine to do, and it was a safeguarding. However, they cemented it, but again, it's important, and um, again, inshallah, we'll be speaking about this on stream, and maybe you could pop by on stream, or we could do a thing where one of the brothers comes here and talks about Dower, and then maybe you can come over there on one of the lives, and we could do that. But a lot of the brothers and sisters are calling in with questions. We had a brother today call in and talking about it and how scared he is in this new world. Protecting his daughter from all these sort of new ideas that will be pumped into them in schooling. And a
yeah,
lot of them are talking about homeschooling, or finding alternatives. And even looking at Islamic schools for education. I've heard a lot of people that are non-Muslim talking about actually sending their children to um, Muslim schools, because they're so scared. They're not happy about the amount of
yeah,
information that's being pumped into their children.
yeah. It's for one, the whole idea that the teachers are as young, you know, with students as young as pre-K, are doing like just what you mentioned, telling them about their date nights and all those things, and their relationships, and encouraging them to think about sexuality in particular. It's like what wait a minute, why do we need to be talking about sexuality when we should be talking about math and science and all these things, and what is our sexuality, and being so focused on who we are and how we're accepted and all these things. We should be in the classroom. They should be so preoccupied with their assignments and study that there should be no room for for them to be sitting up there, thinking about, their sexual anatomy and and all those things. What's the reason for it? Um, the thing is, they're training these teachers now. They're training these teachers about how to engage in this type of curriculum. They're promoting it, so it's just absolutely insane, and it, that's why it's going to take people coming together and saying, we're not going to allow you to do this to our children or our neighbors' children or anyone else's children. We don't want you talking about sexuality in the classroom. It has no place for it. We didn't grow up talking about sexuality in the classroom. Uh, I don't know who my teachers were going out with and if they were gay or if they were straight or bi or I don't care about that. I didn't care about it then. I don't care about it now, and neither does my 5-year-old. I don't have a 5-year-old. I have an 18-year-old at this point. But you know, if there should be anyone talking to to children about sexuality and those types of things, it should be the parents themselves, and certainly not teachers at random in a classroom. And not only that, but having men dressed up as gaudy gaudy outfits, dressed up as women, coming to read them gender bending books at reading time. There's just no place for it, and so we have to speak out against it, man. And so that's what I'm trying to do. Go ahead.
Inshallah, brother. May Allah make it easy for you, and may Allah make it easy for all of us in spreading the message of your book and dawah and according to Islam. So it gives people the steadfastness to hold on to a family discussion, knowledge, and tackling these issues also. Because our Muslim brothers and sisters and non-Muslim brothers and sisters are in need of assistance when dealing with these situations, because there is a part that are just spiraling out of control, where there is no such thing as no, and again, when you are can you drop, but where people are not able to uh, talk about these issues in school or voice their opinions, or they're scared to. It's definitely something that needs to be looked at. It's something that we need to be able to discuss, and
I lost.
parents. Yeah,
I
no,
lost.
that's fine, brother.
I'm sorry about that. I lost my signal there for a second somehow.
No, that's fine, brother. I was just talking about the importance of um, talking and discussion, in the Muslim family unit, and being part of a Muslim is understanding and having knowledge, and talking
There's another
about these
aspect.
issues.
There's another aspect of that as well. In that sometimes children, kids will be when it comes to their parents, they think that their parents are um, out of touch with what's going on in the real world, quote unquote, the real world, and so forth. And so they are prone to just disregard what their parents say. But that's all the more reason for other people to engage in this discussion, because where there's some children that they just don't want to listen to what their parents have to say because they think they're out of touch with what's going on in society at the time. There's other people who they possibly will listen to, and if there's enough of us talking about it, especially within the Muslim community and so forth. But all children, we shouldn't just relegate it to that. But I'm saying just children in general, youth of all ages in general, people of all ages. The more people talk about it and promote the truth over the falsehood instead of accepting the falsehood, um, the more people that are going to benefit from it. And if we look at it in regards to the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in regards to sadaqah, in that, if something that we're saying changes the life of someone, who goes on to change the life of another and another and another, and so forth, then we receive the blessings from that. Or we could sit passively by and not say anything. And then what? I mean, we all have gifts, we all have talents, we all have a voice, we all have opportunities that we should be taking advantage of and promoting the truth. Um, again, do we really want to go to the day of judgment and Allah question us about why we didn't do our part when we know we're being tested by this? The fact that we're talking about this is proof that we're being tested by it. What are we going to do? Are we going to go from this conversation if you're just a listener or whatever? Or let's say that I, I don't want to use myself because it's not a reality in that. But if you're hearing this conversation now or in the future, and you're being reminded of the fact that you're being tested by this very situation, what are you going to do about it? It's like being told that a house is on fire, and instead of going to find a way to put it out, or finding someone who can put it out, or finding a ways to put it out, you just let it burn. Man, dude, that's a bit irresponsible to say the least. Especially when you know you're going to face judgment for everything that we encounter, right? And so, if Allah says in the Quran, and He does say that, not if He says in the Quran clearly, if you take one life, it's as if you've taken the life of all of humanity. If you save one life, it's as if you've saved all of humanity, right? And let me remove this real quick. And so, are we going to be those who step up and say, man, I want to try to help someone, because even if I can't reach millions, even if I can't reach the multitude, the masses, even if people think I'm a nobody, maybe there's someone out there that will listen to the words that I speak and be led to something good from it, for the sake of Allah, inshallah. You know, um, because we
Brother, do
all
you
have.
have a sorry? Do
Go
you
ahead,
have a
brother.
slide? Do you have a slide that has the without the book club, just your book coming soon, or do you have a slide that doesn't have the book club
Yeah,
stuff on it? Oh,
yeah.
good. All right, inshallah. If you can email that to me also, brother, because
Okay,
like I've got this I could put it on a banner like I do with this
okay.
when we're on stream also. Um, so I would love if you could email that to me also, and then when I'm on stream and we're talking about the book, then it helps me to let people know and do a flash of the
Inshallah.
book and when it's coming out, inshallah. Yeah,
Okay.
no, brother, but you're right. There's so much that needs to be done, and we definitely want to be spreading the word about this information that you've put together for everybody. You know,
Inshallah.
inshallah, brother.
Brother, when do y'all do those streams? What
Um,
time?
like for example, in next 2 hours, at 2 a.m. UK time, which I think
Oh,
is about 11 US. We're 5 hours behind. So the brothers are in the USA. One's in Ohio, and the other one's in Florida. So they sort of, I think it's about 11 US time that they sort of start. And then we've been going sometimes all the way, 16 hours is the record for a stream. But now the brothers are doing dawah. We're talking about different topics.
mm,
We're having different call-ins. The brothers and sisters are calling in and talking as well. So it's we had brother Hamza from Hamza's Den pop over last week. So we've
okay.
been basically jumping onto each other's streams and discussing different topics and the importance of supporting each other in different areas.
Yeah,
In dawah, in in supporting communities, in things that we do. and engaging with non-Muslims also. And again, the brothers and sisters are calling in and they're kind of talking about this topic also, that they're scared about what's going on in the schools and
Yeah.
education. So yeah, I mean, we'll be in contact, but I mean, brother, we'll work something out. But maybe we can talk about dawah, and one of the brothers' journeys, come on to consider Islam, and then you come over, on one of the streams and come in and talk for half an hour and talk about your
Okay.
book if it's late for you. But yeah, no, I definitely think that would be beneficial for the
Inshallah.
brothers and sisters, that
Okay.
we keep this momentum going.
Yeah.
There is an undercurrent, and I even spoke to the brothers at like EF Dower, and the larger channels, about us all supporting smaller channels, and that's what we've been doing basically. Some of the bigger channels have been saying, look, go over to the smaller channels. They're talking about this sort of topic, and let's support, because as an ummah, we have a lot of issues that need discussing, you know, and they can be different things like education, you know, um, controlling our temper. Uh, how do we deal with insults to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him? How do we deal with insults to Islam? How do we deal with people that are being provocative? Brother, I don't know if you're aware, in Norway they're trying to build a center, a masjid, and oh yeah, gee, that's another um, com- another Dawah center that we could talk to also, about your book. But they're trying to build a center, an education center. They want to provide for the community. They want to give back to the community, and they've had these right wing people, agitators, coming into the car park, burning the Quran every week,
Yeah.
and they've gone out of their way to provoke, and two sisters followed them and kind of nudged their car, and it involved an accident. And this is a lesson also, how to deal with these things, how to
Yeah.
make sure we don't lose our temper, because there are people going out of their way to provoke, and
Yeah.
we've got to be knowledgeable, and teach each other, and the lessons of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, about how would he react to these sort of situations.
Right.
What was his sabr like? And he was a man of intelligence also, and he could see when people were trying to provoke him, looking for a reason to attack, and
Yeah.
he had to show patience and mercy, and give his own dawah and tell people about the calling to Allah. It's a beautiful. These are timeless stories that will aid us and help us. And when they say, Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, a mercy to mankind, his life, his message, the message of the Quran, the guidance of Allah, is something that we're eternally going to be receiving until the
Yeah.
day of judgment.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, brother.
Yeah, brother, I appreciate you coming on, and yeah, that sounds good. I'll email you the PDF for Consider Islam, the second edition, and I'll email you the cover for the book and so forth, inshallah. So yeah, just be in touch with me, and we'll set it up. And
Yeah, not a problem. I'll maybe connect with you on Facebook,
okay,
and so we can talk
okay,
easier, and arrange some stuff, some cross channel workings, and make sure different audiences or brothers and sisters are able to get this information in different places, because we've started doing it this week, or the last sort of 10 days we've been doing it. And so Jordan M, from Jordan M, he's been sending people over to EA Dawah. From EA Dawah, we've been sending over to Isa Dawah. From Isa Dawah, we're just sending each other the audiences. And then brother Kov, FF, he did an interview with EA Dawah, so everybody came over to him. So this is what we're doing. There's different topics that we need to discuss, and so we're sending each other to different channels, and cross networking, to ensure the message gets through to people, and we're all supporting each other in our different efforts, because this is
yeah,
all dawah, and again, like African sister, assalamu alaikum, my beloved African sister. You know, she's on all the streams. She's on your streams. She's on. Doing,
Oops.
oh, you know, supporting and sharing and making sure we're all aware of each other's channels and trying to make sure that the message is spread. And you know, we are a family, and that's very true. This ummah is a family that wants to support each other, and inshallah, we will be doing that in our efforts. And may Allah grant us ease in doing so.
Inshallah. I mean, all right, brother. I appreciate it, and look forward to hearing from you. And I'll email you. And
Okay.
I need to go. I need to pray.
Inshallah,
Asr
brother.
here. Inshallah.
Okay.
So
What time is it there at the moment?
right now it's 5:50
Oh, PM. Okay, cool.
p.m. Yeah. So
Okay, excellent.
yeah.
All right, inshallah, brother. Thank you for having me here, and inshallah, we'll keep in touch, and we'll
Inshallah.
keep this movement and knowledge going. So I'll say
Okay.
assalamu alaikum, brother, and I'll let you close it out, brother.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you, brother. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. So yeah, it's been interesting to do all the research and so forth for the book, and I just feel obligated once again to talk about this issue and to promote the truth and the beauty of Islam in the process. And certainly, I believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our God, our creator, does not make mistakes, and he does not trap people in the wrong bodies and so forth. So if you're God conscious on any level, I encourage you to do your part, whatever you feel like you need to do to speak out and, help people to deal with this whole gender ideology situation that we're dealing with. Inevitably, listen, before it's all said and done, if it keeps moving in the direction that it is, we're all going to have members of our family and people that we know personally who are coming out as trans if we don't do something about it sooner than later. And so I encourage everyone to do your part, and certainly I'll try to be doing my part. If you'd like to help with the launch of the book, you can do so by sending me an email at info@kennybomer.com. I'm going to post share this one more time real quick. You can join the book launch team by sending me an email at info@kennybomer.com. By doing so, by joining the book launch team, I'm going to send you a free paperback copy of the book upon its release. Of course, there's a couple of steps along the way, but if this is an important topic to you and you like to try to do something to help, speak out against it and promote the truth over falsehood, then you can help by joining the book launch team by sending me an email at info@kennybomer.com. I'm going to send you a free copy of the book and so forth. So I look forward to hearing from you via email. And please be patient with me because sometimes it's hard to respond to all the emails. But I will certainly make effort to do so because I certainly need as many people as possible on the book launch team. So please send me an email at info@kennybomer.com. And so I'm going to close out at that. I do bear witness there's no God other than Allah. And I bear witness that Muhammad is his final servant and the seal of all prophets. Alhamdulillah. Let me look at something real quick. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Bird Nest Rat Fest. I've seen a couple of videos about that. Yeah, some of those characters that he's addressing are there's something else. I want to stay out of it. I got so much going on, but I certainly agree with some things that he says, and I certainly disagree with some things that he says. Nevertheless, but I want to thank everyone for watching and listening. Please make sure you hit subscribe, like, and share. And again, send me an email at info@kennybomer.com. If you'd like a free copy of the new book, Your Right to Self-Identify, My Right to Disagree, Who's Oppressing Whom, I will send you a free paperback copy for simply becoming a member of the book launch team. and leaving your review on Amazon after the book is published. So I'll email you with all the details about that. If you send me an email at info@kennyballmer.com once again. And so I'll leave you all by saying Assalamu alaikum, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, alhamdulillah, rabbil alameen.